Yes, we'll stay with that because I'm sure the pictures tell the story here. Yes, the only thing I would say is that
Three-minute
I don't
injury
know about.
timeout will now start.
Yes, the 3-minute injury timeout will now start. So we've got 3 minutes here, so we can really get into this a little bit. You and I were both around in different positions in the year of the infamous or famous Wimbledon boycott. And I rather sensed the other day when the men players called their press conference, there was a sort of simmering militancy there that I remembered that I'd felt that time before.
Yes, well, I think there's no doubt that it's around. I thought at first that it was a sort of an anti-American feeling, because there is a feeling, particularly amongst many of the non-American, naturally, and European players, that much of tennis is run for the benefit of the Americans, which I think is why there was as much of a hoo-ha made over the debacle of the draw here in the first place, the fact that it was the US Open. Having said that, there's also amongst the players, and has been for many years, a feeling that the ATP itself, of course, is very much an American-run organization, very much run for American players. So in some ways that is a slight contradiction. Going back to your bit about the seedings, I still feel that Wimbledon has every right to justify juggling the seeds, because I believe seedings ought to be for the expected results of players at a tournament. Otherwise, they tend not, to my way of thinking, make a lot of sense to seed people, unless it is that you expect the 16 best players to do well at an event. The 16 best players on that specific surface. And I think every tournament really ought to have that right. The other thing about the seedings is that it's done for a period over a year, and somebody could be very well out of form over the preceding 3 months prior to a tournament and really not look like winning a match, frankly, and yet come into an event seeded. I mean, theoretically, he could even be possibly injured and get into an event seeded.
1 minute
so
remaining.
that I think there are a number of things that ought to be taken into account. And of course, that's one of the reasons why Wimbledon has in the past done it. It's one of the reasons why the US Open this year did it. But what, of course, it does lead to is what we saw here, the manipulation of seedings. And of course, that is very wrong.
Just as it's obvious from the
30 seconds remaining.
that Krajicek has a nosebleed. There are only 30 seconds remaining. If he can't resume, he'll have to forfeit the match. And it looks, from the way he's pinching his nose, it looks rather as if the nosebleed hasn't stopped.
Well, of course, he could continue the match, but just with quite a bit of bleeding, which of course would be pretty unsatisfactory. But I imagine he would have to try and do that at least, unless there was a massive flow of blood.
Thank you. To your seats quickly, please.
He'll be hoping that the pinch, now he's released, that the pinch will have done the job.
It's most unfortunate, always is a thing like this. And, the match was gaining its own momentum, slowly, but it was coming. Krajicek's got a long way to come back now, and he's first got to gather his senses and try and put this bothersome matter of the nosebleed out of his mind. He's set down, he's 1-4 down.
Lock 15.
thing about returning really fast serving. It's a little bit like I often think the batsman playing against a fast bowler. If you do connect, the ball's going to fly.
Ironically, the first game in which Krajicek served 2 aces.
Yes, after that injury time out, he certainly came out and served very well indeed. 4-2. This has not been the US Open. It's not been one of his happier championships. He lost the 3rd round last year. In fact, he's never got past the 4th round in the 5 championships he's made the US Open.
Well, looking at him and thinking of nosebleeds, I can remember Sampras having a bleeding nose on court, and Todd Martin I've seen twice on court. And one just wonders whether there's something about living at altitude that causes your nose to bleed.
15 all.
Yes, on the other hand, the way he's played some of his shots, he may well, as he went to the change of ends, have applied fist to nose.
All. 30.
Point for 5-2, second set. Good timing, played solidly, didn't rush it, and he's got that lead of 5-2 in the second set, having won the first by 6 games to 3.
This is Mary. Mary's mum, Mary's best mates, Sandra and Kim. Mary's sister Louise in Australia. Mary's boyfriend, Ken. And this is Mary's phone bill. She calls these 5 people more than anyone else. And she saves 10% on all her calls to them, thanks to BT's Friends and Family scheme. Now it's free to join. Just ring 0800 05 5555 with your 5 numbers. Do it now. They're waiting for your call.
Well, the evidence is that Krajicek is okay after the injury timeout for a nosebleed, but whether he's quite able to forget about it and apply the kind of intense concentration he needs to play at his best, we remain to be convinced. Tim Henman out there on the outside courts is now 4-2, 2 sets to love and 4-2 up.
Well, Edberg's really on a high here, because this wasn't a bad volley at all from Krajicek. It had quite a bit of pace, and it seemed, I thought, to have angle. Edberg bringing out some magic. Krajicek looking up at the aeroplane, which of course we all could hear. Thankfully evident ever since Mayor Koch. Planes haven't really been a problem. Mayor Dinkins saw to that.
Well, that was called out, wasn't it?
I couldn't tell. I honestly couldn't tell, Richard.
An honest answer from the umpire. I couldn't tell. Why should he make it up?
Yes, from Krajicek's reaction, I couldn't actually see the lines when he's to this side and obscured from our view. I thought he must have changed his mind, but he didn't.
Game, Krajicek.
And I think Edberg actually conceded that, the way he played that backhand, and this is the result.
5-3.
Yes, the crowd thought so too. Very sporting. Serving here at 5-3 for a lead of 2 sets to love, Edberg.
Love 15. Love 13.
Well, the most terrific second serve. That one really leapt up. Even the tall Krajicek had to stretch up high.